Hey guys, Corey Cook, host of Higdon Outdoors Television, and we're going duck hunting this week. We got 3 great duck hunts coming at you. We got 2 up in Canada, a couple of the best hunts I've ever captured on film. One's late season, it's cold, we got great conditions. We're going to kill them on the spinners in the field, and then we're going to join Kelly Powers down in Ballard County, Kentucky for a duck hunt you don't want to miss. Let's get rolling. Like I mentioned before, this is one of the best hunts we've ever captured on film. You can spend a lot of time in the field and on the water before you can get out there and have the conditions in your favor like this.
Absolutely. You know, the big water hunt, I mean, late season, tree lines at your back. I noticed, you know, you didn't have the decoys too far from you. You know, you could put them way out there, and what are they going to do? They're going to fly that line of decoys. But you'll have the decoys up close to the bank, man, and it worked out perfect.
Yeah, the wind's right, a little bit of calling, the sound's there, it's still. The ice blaster goes in for a little bit of movement in those decoys, and it just works out well.
It worked out perfect, you know, and you notice even off at the distance, you know, there was more of that ripple, more of that chop, and sometimes those ducks don't necessarily want to sit in that real heavy ripple or heavy chop, and there's a little bit of slick water, but the ice blaster created just enough ripple to where you can see the motion, and it really makes those decoys stand out from the air where they can see it for a lot farther distances.
Yeah, and we could see the reaction from the ducks as they're coming around that bank. They see the movement, and they're just coming right in.
Absolutely, absolutely.
These aren't your grandmother's decoys. To prove how tough our Higdon Outdoors foam-filled decoys are, we decided to drill a giant hole straight through the middle of them. And then... Higdon Outdoors foam-filled decoys. Tough, unsinkable, bulletproof.
Yep. You notice same conditions for the most part during this field hunt. Everything worked out perfect. Lighting was perfect. Decoys were perfect. Just one of those days that when everything you did, it just worked really great.
Yeah, you can see again the ducks, you flick your spinner on, those ducks are right on top of it. A little bit of calling. If it was always this easy, our jobs would be a lot easier, right?
Absolutely, and the biggest thing I noticed, you know, as those ducks are finishing up, the way they're calling, you know, if they tried to slide to the right of the spread, it seemed like the guy on the right side of the decoys picked up, you know, quit calling as much so that they would pull back to the left, because when you have a big group of hunters, you really want those big groups of ducks to center you up and not be on the right or left side of the spread. And there was some awesome shooting within that segment as well.
Yeah, a few less guys in the field, not as much blinds. It's easier to square those birds up and makes for some great shooting.
It does. Hi, I'm Kelly Powers, Marketing Director for Higdon Outdoors. I want to introduce to you the Pulsator Motion Decoy. This is awesome for when you have those still days and you need ripple on the water. What you have here is a waterproof battery box. Inside you'll look, you have a 12-volt, a mini 12-volt battery, positive and negative connections, as well as a timer. Hook it up, close the battery box, make sure it snaps. You have 6 foot of cord here that separates the battery box as well as your decoy. What your battery box will serve as is the decoy weight. You don't have to set this on dry ground, just throw it in the water. Have your quick connection cords, your cables. What you want to do on this is to connect it to each end. That way, if these were to come unplugged accidentally, you'll be able to retrieve your battery box from under the water. So you want to plug this up, and you'll hear the pump turn on, and simply throw this out in the water and you're ready to hunt. What this simulates is a feeding mallard drake. It'll throw a spray of water in the air every half second for 4 times, and it'll set idle for another 4 seconds. So when you have those still days when there's no ripple on the water and you need some motion, try the Pulsator Decoy from Higdon Outdoors.
In a sport steeped in history and tradition, one company is always looking towards the future. Decoys weren't always unsinkable. Your spread didn't always come to life. With a spirit of innovation and a drive to take waterfowling to the next level, the Higdon family is dedicated to producing the next generation of hunting equipment. Quality, customer service, innovation. That's Higdon Outdoors.
On this hunt, we head to Ballard County, Kentucky to Walden Lodge at Ricky Walden's place. This area is absolutely amazing. First off, the Ohio River and Mississippi River come together, which is a huge flyway for migrating ducks and geese. From a topography standpoint, Ballard County, Kentucky is perfect for migratory mallards. Low-lying bottomlands, hardwood flats, cypress trees, willow flats, absolutely amazing with these low-lying areas, and it's very inviting to mallards as they come migrate in. Check it out. During the hunt, the wind was actually fairly calm, so we had a lot of different varying conditions. Sometimes we had the ducks want to land on the north side of the spread, sometimes on the west. The good thing about the blind is we can fluctuate according to how they're working for that particular day. Temperatures were around the mid-30s. Like I said, calm wind. It was around middle of December, so up until now we haven't had a whole lot of ducks on the refuge. But the cool thing about Ricky, since he manages the farm the way he does, late in the afternoon, the action generally gets a lot better. And he managed these ducks and micromanaged them so much to where a lot of these ducks are feeding on his farm during the late afternoon and early morning hours as well throughout the night. So what does he do? He doesn't get there at first light, flush the ducks, run them off. No, he tries to let them leave on their own around 8, 8:30. That's when he goes in to hunt. So he's hunting between the hours of around 8:30 and 3 o'clock. And the reason he leaves at 3 is when the big bunches start coming back, he doesn't necessarily want to educate those ducks that are coming back in to feed from 3:30 throughout the night. He's catching the tail end of the ducks in the morning hours and the early end of the ducks in the evening hours, and he's getting a good hunt of those during the middle of the day, and he's managing his resource season-wide.
Liking that duck?
That was a mistake. He flew the route the wrong way.
Kill it, duck, kill it, duck. Good shot. Sorry. Go back here. Here.
Good shot, Ben. Hey guys, we get a lot of questions on social media about how to call ducks, when to call ducks, and at what appropriate time do you want to use particular calls at calling ducks. It's a loaded question and a lot of different variables will come into play, so I'll kind of give you a general answer of how I particularly do things during the season. First thing, depends on where you hunt. For example, if I'm hunting open water scenario, deep water, for the most part, that creates a scenario where ducks are loafing during the middle of the day. They're not very active. They're not very aggressive in calling. When ducks are coming at me, for the most part, I'm not going to do much calling at all. If they happen to go over my heads, I want to get their attention. I want to do basic hail calls. And basically what I'm trying to do is get the duck's attention, get them to swing back around into my spread. Now, if they come back around and they're coming into me, I'll do a little bit of feed calling, but I will not get aggressive. If they start to slide left or right on me, I'll just do a little slight hail call. Back to some feeds again. And then hopefully by then, they're within gunning range. Now, the reason I didn't get aggressive on feeding call, number one, if you're in deep water, water that is over 2 foot deep, it's not a feeding scenario. Most of those ducks, they're not feeding at that water depth. Now, on the contrary, if you're hunting an area, a shallow water marsh, water that is less than 2 feet deep, you're in an aggressive feeding scenario for the most part, especially if it's early in the morning, late in the afternoon, or if it's right after a major cold front come through. What those ducks are doing at that particular time is they're very aggressive. This is when you'll need to be really aggressive on your calling, especially feed calling. The ducks are coming at me, I'll do a lot more aggressive feed calling. If they start to slide on me, I'll give a hail call to get them to come back. Do more feed calling as they come back. And hopefully by then they're within gunning range. So always be aware of your hunting conditions, the scenario, and what particular area that you're hunting, and use those tips, and hopefully you'll have more success next time you go. Since it was fairly still outside, the conditions to hunt ducks were fairly tough, as you could see. We still had an absolutely incredible day though, however. Ricky set up with all the motion on the water. It brought all the decoys to life, and the ducks finished quite well. Sometimes we had to move our guns to shift to the west side of the blind. Sometimes we had to go back to the north, but overall we had a great hunt. We want to say a big thank you to Ricky Walden and all of his assistants and helpers that helped us out for this day. The hunting was absolutely incredible. Thank you again, Ricky, for the time, and we'll hope to do it again soon.